All right, good morning, everybody. We had a pretty big gap down on the pre-market here. So right now we're just in a very standard gap fill, filling in that Sunday open, that Sunday gap down. We have a pretty one-directional move so far. You had a little bit of sell pressure come in recently, but ended up being pushed back pretty much right away. So keep an eye on this gap fill going back to 860. That would be the obvious target for today. And that is right in the middle of the value retrace of Friday. So anywhere from 48 to 70. And then the gap is like directly in the middle. So 48, 60, and 70. And then we have the single prints from Thursday being filled in as well. Right now we have a bit of a P-shaped profile where it is pushing to extend the upper tail. Okay, so basically what I was saying was just watch out for a lot of sell pressure at the open because you could have an overnight fade because we are so one directional on the pre-market here. To the downside, we're going to watch that overnight low. So let's raise that up to around 67 and then 50 for that next one. So 750. And then same story on NASDAQ, just filling in the gap for now, which obviously is short-term bullish, but if they don't find buyers after that gap fill, it's just going to come back down anyway. Let's raise this up to that 190 value. And then targets are still the same. Downside, we will target the overnight low. And the value level at 61. The same thing here, just keep an eye on that gap fill. Unless there is a ton of sell pressure coming in on the open, then you could have a possible overnight fade because it is so one directional. And obviously just keep an eye on oil, same as always. See if we have any major moves in the oil market. Very one directional so far. You do have a little bit of sell pressure on the open here. Just keep an eye on those EMAs. You were extremely trendy after you bounced off VWAP. Delta is also following, so they have a lot of buy pressure here filling in this gap. Keep an eye on those gap levels. We have a gap fill around 300 and around, I think it's like 50. Yeah, around 60 here on ES. So if they do continue up, they are looking for that gap fill. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tachi, AT, Scott, Ken. Good morning, Mick, Leo, Roman, Lumir, Curbs, Future, Jack, Andreas, Jose, Ram, Peter. Good morning, Brian, Orion, Nitro, Ollie. Good morning, Brent, Larry. Good morning, Ike, Igor, Greg, Kirito, Crab, Luis, Leo. Good morning, Trevor. Good morning, Blood, Adam, Joan, Ordinary, AF. Good morning, Trades, Roman, eBay, Boat, Jose, Lulu. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We do have a little bit of data coming out at 10 o'clock, home sales data. It is an extremely quiet week as far as data goes. The only high impact stuff we have is tomorrow, and it's PPI, which is really not that high impact. But CPI was pretty lackluster, so maybe PPI will be better. Here's that 24 EMA giving you a decent bounce, still holding on to that trend for now. Breaking that 1 hour trail from that gap down here. Not flipping it just yet, but trying to break it. 30-minute trail flipping. Momentum is slightly weak. Daily did flip green, so we're still green on that. Still testing that weekly trail here, so still haven't decided if this is a lower high on that weekly just yet. Five-minute momentum a little bit topped out, which is probably why we're seeing a sell-off here. It's a little bit extended. Momentum pulling back a little bit, but still holding above that trail for now. Look at the tape flipping bearish on the large orders since the open. Pretty bullish before the open. A lot of sellers coming in at 37. Would the world care about a blockade starting at 10 a.m. because we're effectively already in a blockade? That's kind of how I see it as well. I don't think the market will react too sharply at, like, right at 10 a.m. They've kind of already priced in their thoughts. That's kind of the entire reasoning behind this structure that we have right now. We had the gap down, and then they're kind of filling it back in. So right now, this is like the only reaction from the blockade. A little bit of a drop. We'll see if there's a secondary reaction at 10 o'clock. Yeah, effectively, the biggest thing with the blockade is, let's say a week from now or 2 weeks from now, whatever. Is the traffic going to increase from what it is? Because like you said, we're already in a blockade. We're only getting like 1 to 5 ships a day. So is it going to go to 10 ships, 20 ships, back to normal, 100 ships, right? We need to keep an eye on that traffic. We're starting to enter that time where these docks, these ports around the world are expecting these ships to get there, and they haven't even left yet. So now you're going to start seeing the major supply shock headlines, right? Because like I said, these ships move very, very slowly. You're talking a month, 2 months out for these ships to get to their destinations. So that's about where we are right now, 1 to 2 months out, right? So you're going to start seeing more of those supply shock headlines pretty soon, especially in the Asian countries. You read there's been an increase in tanker ships heading to the U.S. to get oil? Yeah, probably. I would assume so. Yeah, I'd say Russia, U.S., Venezuela. They're probably going up quite a bit. The largest supplier outside of the Strait, because the Strait is effectively not providing oil, right? You're looking at the U.S. and Russia, and then China's up there as well, but not as much. It's mostly U.S. and Russia. Yeah, and even if you made the argument that, like, the U.S. controls Venezuelan oil, let's say that we now control the Strait oil with the blockade, that's still only, like, I think it's like 40%, somewhere around there. It's like 35, 40%. So you're still getting oil outside of this location, like outside of the Strait. But it is a massive drop in supply. It's not like 100% like people think it is, right? Russia is a massive supplier, which is why you're seeing like a lot of nations that are like kind of technically at war with Russia. They're still getting oil from Russia. So it's like they're funding their own war. Yeah, it's not like the world's going to hit zero, is what I'm saying. You're not going to see oil go to like 500. Still protecting the trend here. 24 EMA being held. 30-minute lows being protected. You have a little drop off in oil last few minutes or so. You're not seeing the immediate buy up on ES. How strong is our correlation right now? Let's see. The daily correlation is still very weak on oil because of the weird price action that we're getting on ES. Now, this is one of those times where, like, mathematically, the correlation is not that strong, but we know that it's still respecting it because of these, like, internal moves from the headlines. So it's not respecting it like bar by bar, but it is based on the big movements, the big headlines. Mathematically, using the correlation coefficient, it's actually a much stronger correlation with the dollar right now. Obviously, an inverse correlation. The dollar is at a negative 0.76, meaning they are damn near exact. This is our oil correlation. It's kind of snapping back because of the weird price action we've had recently. It's mostly because we're still up on equities and we're up on oil the last few days, which kind of breaks that correlation. But dollar is still maintaining its inverse because we're still down on the dollar. And I believe the 10-year is still maintaining as well. A little bit weak because it bounced after the auction. So yeah, still reacting to headlines. Still very sensitive, but it's not bar by bar correlated. Good morning, Michael. Well, that would still kind of be a P shape, Joseph, because it would be you'd be extending the upper tail in the P shape, very common. And then you would just be returning back to value. So like the upper tail failed basically. P shapes are like the same as lowercase b's where they are fragile. Yes, it is bullish, but it's fragile. It can break and be bearish very quickly. Lowercase b, same thing. It's bearish, but it's fragile. It can break and be bullish very quickly. They're mostly strength because the other side is weakening, not because your side is very strong. It's not because the buyers are very strong, it's mostly because the sellers are weakening. They're closing their positions. They're getting squeezed, they're getting scared out, whatever it may be. When it shifts from a P shape into more of a trend profile where you're just constantly building node after node after node as you're building higher, then that turns into a more aggressively bullish market, not a fragile bullish market. I'm assuming there's a headline coming out here, big spike in equities and a big drop in oil. Iranian officials say they are studying abandoning their uranium enrichment as a U.S. condition for ending the war. That is coming from the New York Post. So that is a bullish headline because it leads to a potential ceasefire, war ending, etc., etc. And look at where it lines up pretty much perfectly with that gap fill theory. So here it comes. Keep an eye on that. Going back to 59 and 300. 304 to be exact. Momentum starting to climb a bit. A lot of block trades coming in with that headline. And this is exactly what I was just talking about how the mathematical correlation is not really there on the higher time frame, but it's very obviously still correlated when you see those big headlines come out. It's just in between the headlines. Are we glued together? No. He built a couple of breakout nodes here, one at 50, one at 53. But as you're approaching that gap fill, the sellers are coming in pretty strong here. There is a little bit of data at 10 o'clock. Watch out for that. Housing data. Yeah, we don't like to see gap fills like this. We do not like to see them get wicked and then kind of shoot back the other direction. We want to see that filled in with a body of a candle. Where is that daily gap? Can you even see the daily gap? Yeah, so daily gap is filled in, but we do not want it to wick this level. If it wicks this level, let's say, take like this little gap, for example, here. You see how this little gap gets wicked, but then it sells off and fills it in anyway? That's kind of what happens. Same thing here. This little gap right here got wicked, and it went up and filled it in anyway. Kind of the same thing right here, actually, now that I look at it. There's a little gap right here that got wicked. So typically these gaps that just get wicked, they get a retest. So you don't want to see that get completely wicked like that. I think you're reading that headline wrong, Chris. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 bullish blocks in the last hour or so. They're all pretty damn big, too. 1,000 contracts, 970. You had a bunch of bearish blocks coming in on the first, like, 5 minutes. They're smaller blocks, though. Only around 150 to 100. Look at the size of the bullish blocks compared to the bearish blocks. Massive. Morning, Julio. When would you consider a P-shaped profile turning into a trending profile? Basically what just happened. So like you had the P-shaped value was like down here. Obviously not a P-shape on the cash profile, is more of a full session. But once you start breaking out of that value and you start building up those nodes outside of that value, that's where you begin trending, right? Because a trend profile has many nodes. So the P-shape was here. Now we have this node, now we have this node. So first node is telling you, okay, we're actually finding value outside of our initial value. Now our second node is like, okay, we're like starting to trend now. And that's obviously if they can hold on to these nodes. If they begin losing this node, possibly bounce off that one, but if they lose that one, then it's obviously just a retrace. Good morning, Faraj. Here's that 10 o'clock data coming out. It is housing data. Is it lagging? Let me see. My stream? Is what lagging? Like the price? My stream? The price looks good on my stream. It's the same on my trading view. It's the same on my Tradeovate. Here's that 10 o'clock data. Existing home sales 3.98 million over 4.07 million. Let me see if you guys are talking about my stream. If it's lagging, I'll pull it up. It looks good to me. I've got about a 5-second delay on my end. That's pretty standard. If you guys are lagging, I would just try to refresh it. A lot of block trades coming in here, still very large. Another 2,000 contracts. Okay, so our gap is officially filled in. But is it going to wick the gap? That is the problem. And I do have to extend these targets. Extended targets on ES are going to be 88 and 93. Extended targets on NASDAQ. $393, and we'll just say 407. Yeah, I didn't see any lag on my end. You can always right-click the stream, and there's a button that says Stats for Nerds. And that tells you, like, what your delay is. If you have more than like a 10-second delay, I would try to refresh it. Putting in a higher low on oil here, giving us a little bit of sell pressure. No follow-up headlines on that initial spike. If you guys missed the headline, it came out obviously right here. You can see it on a chart when it started shooting up. It was Iranian officials are studying abandoning their uranium enrichment as a U.S. condition for ending the war. That was from the New York Post. The U.S. blockade on Iran, the Strait, is officially in force. You know, one thing we're starting to see is our level 2, or sorry, our level 1 liquidity is getting better. Even with these headlines. The market is not as scared of all this oil drama, what's going on in the Strait, as much as it was a few weeks ago. Actually, fairly good liquidity, all things considered. Trading like 30 contracts per tick, 40 contracts per tick. if the new blockade is like the last major thing to happen for the next few weeks, the liquidity will probably slowly begin to increase. This pullback is not great here because, like I said, if you wick this gap, they're going to want to come back and fill it in. Now, we did not wick it on the 30-minute. That is very good. The 30-minute is filled in. But on the daily, that's the problem. If the daily closes below like 193, where that wick is, then it's going to wick the gap. So basically like 200. If NASDAQ closes below 200 and ES closes below, let's say like 850, 845, then it wicked the gap. And it's probably going to come back and fill it in. Putting in a lower high here, possibly losing the trail, losing a lot of momentum here as well. A couple of 30-minute pivots coming up around 70. You're running into one damn near to the tick on NASDAQ as well. We'll see if we fail that trail pretty soon. Are you guys still seeing stream lag, or is it good now? Good for a while now? Gotcha. Good morning, Ray. So our trade plan targets are basically completed. I extended the targets earlier. So the new targets on ES are 888 and 893. On NASDAQ, 393 and 407, if it does continue. Keep it on this trail here, trying to bounce off that trail. Trying to maintain this little uptrend here. I think that's it for the calendar today. Let me see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You have the IMF meeting starting today, so from today, basically throughout the entire week, you have the IMF, which are going to be kind of like Fed statements almost. But that is pretty much it. And then tomorrow we have PPI. And then the rest of the week, we basically have nothing. So realistically, we're just watching the oil headlines. Okay, so no bounce off this trail here. Failing that pivot. Putting in a bear div on the 5-minute. Keep it on that 5-minute trail now that we lost the 1-minute. That'd be around 36. Good morning, Carrie. So right now we are stuck inside of Friday's value. So if it maintains the buy pressure here, you're almost going back into a rotation of Friday's value. So watch out for that going from around 48 up to 70. And then on NASDAQ, that would be, they need to hold on to 237. And that goes back to 329, which we have already done once. It has already retraced that value one time. So just see if we keep getting buyers down here and we keep getting sellers up here, you just start to rotate. A little bit of a micro pullback going on right now. We'll see if it closes like this. Got to keep an eye on the candle high and candle low. Starting to see those bearish block trades come back in. Still not nearly as strong as the buys. Little spike in oil again. Let's see if there's a headline. I don't see the new headline just yet. I see one that came out a couple minutes ago. I don't think that's it. I believe it might be this from Trump. Trump making a statement about the blockade. He says if any of the Iranian ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated. So possibly more Trump statements coming out. So keep an eye on that. 30-minute micro pullback getting ready to close here. So creating a strong upper node, which is actually already the POC. That is a statement being pulled from a longer Truth Social post. That pretty much was the statement, though. One truth post and trade plan's out the window? Nah, trade plan's still the same. Do you still trade S&R? I think you mean like support and resistance. Support and resistance is just like a... It's just a... How do I say this? Those are terms that you'll use when you're extremely new to trading. Like you're like brand new to trading and you're looking for like support and resistance lines, I guess you would say, like horizontal levels. Now, obviously, like as you get more experienced in trading, you're going to be using support and resistance, but not in the like bare bones way that you're learning it when you're brand new. It just becomes much more complicated than that. Sorry, guys, allergies are still kicking my ass. Good morning, Mauser. Yeah, the cash profile is definitely gaining value. You started down here, built a pretty strong node, popped up, and now we're building a very strong node up here, POC on the high. Here's that micro pullback. If you can stay above that 62, keep an eye on those extended targets, 88 and 93. Liquidity still decent, honestly, with these headlines coming out. It's very surprising. Yeah, 70 is still a target. I just have extended targets above that because we've basically already hit that level. We're like 10 points off. The initial trade plan still goes to 70. The extended targets are 88 and what did I say? 93. These candles slow the market down quite a bit, these micro pullbacks. You get stuck in them for quite a while sometimes. So keep an eye on this rotation from 62 to 44, basically creating its own value area. A lot of sells around the high 50s here. A lot of big action today, a lot of block trades. So far, buyers are being absorbed above 60, basically. Anything above this little high right here. They're not allowing it to fully rotate, though. The buyers are still trying to hold on to that 55 node. So right now, you do have a little bit of a failure to rotate. Like I was saying, you can basically treat these micro pullbacks as if they are value areas. So you want to rotate back down to 44, but it's not really letting it do that. Was that a wall earlier? Doesn't seem like it. Today's POC shifting into Friday's POC. Basically just rotating that same level again. EV, funny enough, I get that question all the time. I have no idea. I think my settings are just different from you guys because I haven't updated in a long time. But there's no like specific setting for that. If I had to guess, it's either the amount of letters that you have, because the more letters you have, the wider it's going to be. And I deleted a shit ton of letters, so I only have the main session here. Or the letter width, that's like the only thing I could guess. Yeah, I get that question all the time, and I genuinely have no idea. I just kind of zoom it in. On the left of the screenshot icon, this is the scale. You're talking about the scale? My scale is auto. Did I like the UFC? Yeah, the UFC was fantastic, man. It's possibly one of the best cards of the entire year, if not the best card of the year. Obviously, we're only in April, so hopefully it gets better, but I think that is so far the best. I feel bad for Yuri. But that is the problem with being a nice guy in a sport of killers. Oil pushing up here. Keep an eye on that oil VWAP at 103.40. You still are not allowing this to rotate back down to 44. Keep an eye on that rotation. They need to lose this node here at 55. Best heavyweight fight of all time? It's definitely up there, for sure. I think definitely one of the most entertaining. I don't know if I'd call it the best. There was like nothing technical about that fight whatsoever. Like for the fans that just want to see blood, then definitely it was up there. But they were just brawling. That was like a bar fight. One thing I'll give them is a heavyweight having that much energy for the entire fight is actually insane. The last time we saw heavyweights fight that hard for the entire fight is back when they were all coked up and they were on testosterone and like all kinds of extra enhancers, right? Did they really? That's actually huge if they did that. I didn't see that, no. I didn't see they added him to the White House. That's probably because Trump was there and he was just telling Dana, like, get this guy on the White House card right now. Yeah, usually heavyweight fights are that intense for one round. And then the next two or however many rounds, if it's a championship, they're just gassed. And it's boring as hell. They're just laying on each other, basically. But they were going at it the entire time. But no, that's awesome that they added him to the White House card. The White House card needed another big fight like that. The White House card is not as good as I think everybody was hoping. Oh, I was literally joking about Donald Trump requesting it, but it's the headline says that's what happened. It says Josh Hokett accepted the UFC White House fight in the ambulance after Donald Trump's request. That's a great opponent too. Putting him against Lewis. That's gonna be an awesome fight. Still failing to rotate, not letting it go below 55 here. So still maintaining that kind of P-shaped bullish trend. Keep it on 70. And then our extended targets at 88.93. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about Yuri. I feel bad for Yuri, but that is the way of the game. You are going in that cage basically trying to kill the other guy, right? And Yuri fights with this like samurai mentality. He tries to be like very honorable. I mean, he said it at the end of the fight. He was like, I had that fight. It was an easy win. I felt mercy for him, and then he got knocked out. Can't take it away fully from Ulberg. It was a fantastic punch, especially off of one leg, basically. But Yuri could have easily won that fight. He could have just kept kicking him, and the fight's over. Like, literally, like 2 or 3 more leg kicks, the fight's over. Or if he even just waited out the time, the doctor might have called it. Because if they can't stand on both legs, they're not going to let him fight. So it would have been a doctor stoppage. So he could have easily won that way as well. I don't think so, Austin. I would agree with that statement if it was like any other fighter. But I don't think Yuri is just saying that to like cope. I don't think he's just like saying he was actually giving him mercy. You can literally see the change in his fighting like right after it happens. He started standing in the box with him more. He was trying to like give him an opportunity, which he gave him an opportunity, all right. He was trying to do the like what's his name? How did I forget his name? The how did I forget his name? The Hawaiian fighter, Max, thank you. He was trying to do the Max thing for him where he's like, okay, you can't walk around, let's just stand here and box. And then Ulberg was pulling back. He was like, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, they literally said that? I didn't see that. His corner said they were going to stop it. Yeah. So like I said, he could have just ran from him, which is that would have been really a shitty way to win a championship. He could have just kicked him a few more times. He did kick him after the leg thing happened, but I think once he started noticing how bad it was, he stopped kicking him. This is obviously very bullish, guys. As we said earlier, it's failing to rotate multiple times. If you think about this as a value area, it needs to go back down to 44. It's not letting it do that. It's bouncing off 55 every time. Here comes that 70 target. Yeah, like I said, any other fighter, I would 100% be on board with just calling him a little bitch and he's just crying about it and he's making excuses. But not Yuri. Yuri, if anyone says that they started giving mercy to their opponent, it's that guy. Like he would believe that 100%. Hopefully now he's starting to understand. I mean, it's a little late in his career to figure this out. But hopefully he understands for at least his next couple fights that he needs to stop doing that. I don't think they're going to give him an immediate rematch. He'll definitely get a rematch. I think he's going to fight at least once before a rematch. I doubt they'll give it to him immediately. Here comes that 70 level, which will finish our initial trade plan. The initial trade plan was just a value retrace, right? But yeah, Yuri also needs to just pay more attention. Because if you go back and watch the fight, he threw that exact shot that knocked him out like 3 or 4 times before that. And obviously Yuri was kind of dodging it, so he was paying attention to a degree. But the fact that he like kind of let his guard down towards the end and let him hit him with the same exact shot definitely doesn't look too good. So value retrace on NASDAQ has already been completed. You're looking for that overnight high of Friday. And then here is the value retrace on ES. We do not want to see a lot of sell pressure today, though. In the afternoon, we want this to stay up as much as it can, because if it sells off, you're going to get that wicking effect, where it wicks the gap and then comes back down. We do not want to see that. Couple of single prints, nothing crazy. Going down to 63 here. Did they say exactly what happened? I know he said afterwards it was his knee. But like, did he tear something? Have they said? Single prints filled in. Let's see if it stops here. Was it just a single print fill in? Oil popping here might be another headline. I'm guessing it's a headline. Oil's popping pretty hard. Seeing a lot of injuries like that recently on UFC. It was his ACL. That was my next guess. Yeah, that's what the commentators were saying. If it's his ACL, that's pretty bad. Those take a long time. What would be crazy is if they did another interim fight while he's healing, and then Yuri fought somebody else for the belt again, and then they came back for their rematch to bring the belts back together. That'd be a pretty interesting narrative. You could have a little storyline going there. Because ACL, what are you're talking like minimum 6 months, maybe even longer. I know they have those like crazy surgeries and therapies and whatnot, and you've had a couple of NFL players get it done way faster than that. But I think reasonably, you're talking like 6 months plus. Put Yuri on the White House card for an interim belt. And then reunite the belts at the end of the year, like next year or something. Yuri blocks punches with his face. He's a weird fighter, man. He's very weird. That's his biggest weakness, though, is like in the beginning when he's doing all his weird shit trying to figure his opponent out. He definitely can get, he takes a lot of damage. Very bottom heavy candle here, pushing back into this rotation. Like I said, treat this micro pullback like it is a value area. Obviously, we had a couple of failed attempts to rotate lower. We'll have to stay below 55, but right now, they're still protecting that upper node. I don't see what that last little spike was. Possibly this headline from Amina Baker, which is she's an OPEC Plus journalist, basically. She was saying that the naval blockade threatens the loss of about another 1.8 million barrels per day of supply. the person who had the New York Post um, statement earlier today that caused that initial spike came out and basically reiterated their statement. It was Caitlin Dorenbos, however you pronounce her last name, not sure. But basically, she was clarifying and saying that people took that statement a little bit out of proportion. And she was saying that there's not really any new information on that. Well, the problem with the market is it's already priced in. We've seen that happen many times with Wall Street Journal, where they make these bold statements. The market responds very quickly, and they try to bring their statements back to bring the market back to where it was. Good luck with that. New York Post is as good as a tabloid. That's the problem with just journalism in general nowadays. They're all basically tabloids. It's ridiculous. That's why my news list on Twitter is the way that it is, right? I'm following like the wires instead of like the direct like CBS, Fox, CNN, whatever. Journalism is at like an all-time low. It's pretty pathetic, especially when it comes to um the market, right? Now that we have all these prediction markets and just all these different ways that you can insider trade. And then you have AI as well, so you have AI writing articles and stuff. It's a really bad time for journalism. I mean, that also could, that probably could be said with like any time in the last 50 years or whatever, you know what I mean? It's definitely getting worse, though. Keep an eye on VWAP, VWAP at 850. That clarification that I just read out is now being pushed into the news wires, like Financial Juice, etc. Still showing that bullish bias, 30-minute lows being protected, and they are not allowing that full rotation back down to 44. You are seeing a major lack in aggressive buying, though. You can see the highs of these candles are extremely weak. They're very bottom heavy. So the buyers are being very responsive. They are buying the pullbacks. They're not buying the breakouts. You need to see that aggressive pressure here if you do want to continue. Trading PM has been a lot smoother. Yeah. Yeah, the afternoons have been pretty good recently. Afternoons, pre-market as well, if you guys trade pre-market. It seems a lot smoother. I don't trade pre-market, but just looking at the chart, it seems a lot smoother. Today was pretty straightforward on pre-market. You had one little nasty move, but other than that, it was pretty smooth. Trend is still very flat, protecting those lows. Hitting a very old pivot here. Yeah, TD9 to like what? TD13. The 9 to 13 is kind of like the reversal period. Tomorrow is going to be very telling. Today, not so much. Because tomorrow we have to see where we're trading compared to the gap. Are we just back above the gap and we don't care anymore? Or was this just a gap fill and we're way back down here? So today is literally just a gap fill. That's all it is. We have to see what happens tomorrow. Basically, like if you treat the gap like a single print zone, we're basically just filling in the single prints. And we have to see, was that just the entire reason of going up, or do we actually have some buyers here? Yeah, 9 or 13. So if you think about like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that zone of bars is like a reversal zone if you're into that whole bar numbering thing. Keep an eye on this 55 area here. If you stay below that node, you're trying to rotate back down to 44. kind of a rollover top here. It's like a double rollover top. I don't really know what you would call this, where it's like you have the sweep on the high. This is more of like a head and shoulders almost. But then you have these lower highs coming in. So just keep an eye on those lows. Breaking the lows goes back to VWAP. Very bottom heavy value. They just need to break that 55 node. They're really struggling to break that. You're lining up for a double VWAP test where like oil's hitting VWAP to the upside, and then ES is hitting VWAP to the downside here. Keep an eye on 51. Still seeing the same problem here. So VWAP lines up almost perfectly with this node that we keep getting stuck on. A little bit higher. The node's at 55, VWAP's at 51. It is a very lackluster week as far as data goes, so we are basically just waiting on oil headlines, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess you could say ES is technically unchanged if you count the gap. But I wouldn't really say it's unchanged. I mean, that's kind of doing it a disservice. This is a massive buy-up. It's up over 100 points. Now, yes, like I said, if you count the gap, technically it's not up at all. But you still have to have an immense amount of buying to bottom out from here and trade up here. There doesn't have to be that much selling to create this because it's a gap down. It's essentially a lack of buying that's causing it to come down, right? But to get it back from here to here, you need a shit ton of buying, which is why we have plus 11,000. Funny enough, that line of thinking is exactly what I was talking about with like the profit taking mentality, like kind of like the trailing drawdown mentality on Apex or in your trading accounts, right? Where in your head it's like, hey, I didn't lose anything. It's exactly where I started. But imagine if you were shorting this and this was your profit. You would not be saying I didn't lose anything anymore, right? You completely gave up 100 points. Okay, here comes that VWAP overlap that I was talking about. So we're going to test VWAP on ES almost simultaneously where we test VWAP on oil. Oh yeah, the Sunday open, like Monday price action pre-market has been explosive because so much is going on the weekends, right? I hate the idea of like truly 24/7 markets, but this scenario that we're currently in, this market scenario with like Iran, this would be one of those times where having a 24/7 market wouldn't be too bad. He finally took out these 30-minute lows, but they are being swept or kind of absorbed. We'll have to see if it can actually stay below these 30-minute lows. I'm looking for the headline here. Let's see. Looks like a member of Iranian parliament is trying to put forward a legislation that will change the passage rules through the strait. essentially allowing them to take tolls or payment through China's currency or cryptocurrencies. So that was the little drop there. Hey, Scalper, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for joining the membership on YouTube, especially the Elite tier. I appreciate that. Glad you find value in the stream, man. Thank you, thank you. But all right, we streamed a little bit long today. I don't remember if I did a giveaway on Friday, but we can do one today. Let me see what are the likes at. The likes are at 77. If you guys can get that to 100, we'll do a giveaway today. I think we did one on Friday, but we can do one today as well. If you guys get above 100. If you guys are heading out, I appreciate being here. I will be streaming tomorrow, same time as always. If you guys want to support the channel, you can hit that like button. You can subscribe. You can check out some of our videos on the YouTube channel as well. Our new playlist is the Becoming an Apex Trader playlist. Highly recommend that one. If you want to support further, you can use code BREW on Apex. You can check out Addis. There's a free trial down below, and there's a Discord link down below as well. Apex is still 90% off, I believe. I think they extended the 90% off for like one more week. If you guys do use the code, don't send me those receipts just yet. We do a raffle every single month. I get those receipts from you on the last week of the month. So I will get those from you guys in a couple weeks. Only a few more likes if you guys want to do a giveaway real quick. It's going to be for an Apex account. Keep following our trade plan, guys. It is the same as we talked about at the start of the stream. Our trade plan target at 70 was damn near the high of day so far. Our extended targets are 88 and 93 if it does continue. If it does not continue, then keep an eye on this rotation back down to 44, and then obviously VWAP back to 35. All right, I appreciate that, guys. We did get to 100. Give me 1 second. I'll get that ready. All right, go ahead and pick a number between 1 and 50. Just pick one number. Don't worry about ties. We will do a tiebreaker. Make sure to press that live button on the stream. Make sure you do not have a large delay so you do know if I pull your number. If I do pull your number, let me know. I'll double check your chat history. I'm going to make sure you only picked one number. And obviously, I'm going to make sure you actually have the number. And then have your email ready. I do have to send the code via email. All right, last chance. I'll give you 30 more seconds, and I'm going to pull the number here. Alrighty, guys. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Last number I see is Tony. Number is 37. Let me know if you have 37. I do not see anybody. Oh, you have it, Tom and Flory? Let me see. Am I blind? I am blind. You do have it, Tom. And Flory, let me see. Where the hell did you guys type it? Am I completely blind? Oh, I see it. No, I can't do that, Scalper. Like I said, don't worry about ties. If you guys have a tie, we just do a tiebreaker, like we're about to do with Tom and Flory. If everyone does what you did, Scalper, it would be impossible to keep track of in chat. Unfortunately, I can't do that. You guys just have to pick one number and that's it. I try to keep the rules as simple and as fair for everybody as I can. You just got to think, like, if 100 people in chat are doing that, it's like, how do I keep track of that? It's just impossible. What was your very first number? Was your very first number 37 or 7? I'm going to go off your very first number. Let me see what you have. I'll check your chat history. Your very first number was 7, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah, 7. So there you go. I usually go off the first number. If you had 37 as your first number, I would have taken that. So who was it? It was Tom and Flory. I see you. So Tom, you had pick your tiebreaker number, Tom. Pick your number between 1 and 10. And he also picked 5 already. So yours is 3, Tom, and Flory is 5. All right, good luck, guys. It does not like either one of you guys. Okay, it was 3. It is Tom. There's my my giveaway email. send me an email with your YouTube username. I'm going to send you a random number to put in chat. Still very bottom heavy here. They really like this 55 level. The buyers are just constantly pushing it back up. Did you send me an email, Tom? Let me take a look here. I see you, Tom. I'm going to send you a random number. Just type that in chat and you are good to go. Next thing you'll see is the promo code. That's usually how it goes, Metis. That's how the market works usually. It has to be like a massive epidemic or pandemic, or like the '08 crisis was like a housing crisis. It's got to be pretty major. These small things that cause like short-term problems, they don't really do it. There's just too much buy pressure. The buyers win like 90% of the time, long term. I guess if you go long enough, they win 99.9% of the time, if not 100% of the time. But I like to throw in a little bit of a percent for those COVID moments, the '08, the '01, the '60s, right? The bears have their chance, but the buyers usually win. I see you, Tom. So the next thing you'll see is a promo code. You can go sign up for any Apex account. Doesn't matter the size. Doesn't matter if it's end of day drawdown or regular drawdown. Throw that code in. It will give it to you for free for 30 days. If anybody else is looking for accounts, you can use code BREW. It's 90% off, I think, until like Thursday, I believe. I'll double check that date. I'll get back to you guys tomorrow on that. But all right, guys, be on the lookout for the trade plan. Trade plan's still pretty much spot on. Extended targets are 88 and 93. On NASDAQ, it's 393 and 407. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace, everybody.